thing that they don't understand, that the parent doesn't understand about the grandparent is that our children are grown and they have had their own children. Those kids are there for them to hug on every day of their life,
Mm-hmm.
to love on, get the kisses, get to tuck them in bed. You get to do all that every day. We don't get
That's
to do
right.
it every day. And so those hugs and loving and kisses and just admiration we get from our grandkids, it just, we can't get enough of it.
That's
and,
right.
Um,
Yeah.
we sure aren't wanting to be there to correct them.
And to try to somehow or another tear down that moment and to break down that moment.
Yeah.
And in doing that, some people say, well, you're spoiling your grandchildren. Well, we're not. It's not about spoiling your grandchildren because they're. And I dealt with my grandson. My grandson just turned 6. The one that I'm talking about, Langston. I dealt with him here back, I think in February. They were up here, and I have a limit. I have a boundary, and until you reach that boundary, we're playing the games and all. But and I told him when he stepped over the line, and I said, "Now, son, Papa will let you do a whole lot of stuff, but Papa's not going to let you do this."
That's right.
And so we're not spoiling them. We just our boundaries are pushed a little bit further back.
That's
It's
right.
like I was
That's
talking about
good.
with Granddaddy. Granddaddy knew how to push the boundaries and expand the limits. And so we do that. But there is a line. He called me out in
Yeah.
front of my girlfriend on calling my ex-girlfriend. So
And we never were disrespectful to
Oh,
Granddaddy
never.
and Grandma.
never.
That,
No.
Uh,
And it was never out of fear.
no.
I never feared that if I did, there was going to be some retaliation.
No.
It's just it was an unheard of thing. I respected and loved them, and never would do anything that I thought would be disrespectful
Yeah.
to them out of that love and everything. So, yeah, I mean that relationship was so precious and so important in my life that I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize it.
Yeah.
No matter what it was. So, and I think if you spoke to all of our cousins, they would feel the same way.
Well, another thing with grandparents, now I'm meddling today. I hope my kids watch this. I'm meddling. But grandparents never want to see their grandkids cry.
No, that's right.
So when we step in, it's like this. I think it's like this. Did Grandma and Granddaddy argue? Probably so,
Not in front of us, but probably so.
but not in front of us. And that's the way parents should be. Parents shouldn't argue in front of their kids. They should do it in private. But the same thing, when the grandparents are around, save that getting on to. I mean, number one, you don't have to. I'm really meddling now. It doesn't. You don't have to be so tough on your kids. I was too tough on my kids. We learned some things since we were
Right.
parents and now we're grandparents. We've learned some things. I wouldn't raise my kids the same way that I did in the past.
No.
I
Right.
would raise them differently. I was too tough on them. Parent to our kids than our father was to us.
Absolutely. That's the goal. That was our goal.
So try to be a better parent. I want my kids to try to be a better parent to
Than
their
I
kids
was.
than
Yeah.
I was. Yeah. So don't be so tough on them.
It goes back to what we talked about early on about perspective. There's a different perspective from the grandparent. Sometimes the parent is caught up in the emotional part of correction.
Yeah.
And what they miss is our perspective. Our perspective often is this: you're not getting onto that child, and that child's not crying because he's afraid or that you're speaking harsh or whatever. That child is embarrassed. You've done that in front of grandpa or papa,
Yeah.
and now that child is embarrassed. And out of that embarrassment, he may lash out or he may retreat. And as a papa, as a grandparent, your perspective is so different. The things I missed as a parent, I now see.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of more protective of their emotional fragility. Is that a fragileness?
Okay, you lost me.
Fragility is a word.
I don't know about
I
that
just
one.
coined that word. That's a phrase. You won't hear it anywhere but on Common Sense Cafe. Fragility. But we are a little bit more protective of the fragileness of their emotional state at that level in their life, and probably at every level in their life.
And we do understand that you have to teach your kids.
Yes.
You have to
yes.
teach them respect.
Yes.
You have to teach them good manners. You have to teach them things that's going to help them be a good, strong adult, a good character person. But like you said, number one, I mean, it doesn't have to take place in front of us.
Right.
There's plenty of time to correct your child because, number one, if it's something that they need to be corrected over, it's something that's happening more than one time.
Right. Yeah. this is
Anything
not
that
the
happens
only-
just one time, that's an outlier. It
Right.
doesn't have to, there's not even a need to address it usually, but sometimes we go overboard and address it anyway, thinking it's the worst crisis that has come along. But, you know, just please don't be so hard on your grandchildren in front of your, and I don't ever remember. If it happened, I don't remember it. Granddaddy or grandma being in an argument with our parents over us.
Oh no. I think I hate to even say this. Sure, it's generational. I think that in that era, things were a little bit different. Children weren't as apt to speak out
Speak
against
back
their
against
their parents
yeah,
because
right.
our mom always showed the utmost respect for our grandmother and grandfather.
Right.
But also I think that they leaned on their wisdom and recognized their wisdom and so they were not willing to they probably, I would assume, thought if they're doing this there must be some reason they're doing it because they're very smart people. But you know, talking about getting on to your children in front of your the grandparents and grandparents, like you said, never want to see their grandchildren cry. And we may go a little overboard in consoling them. We try not to. We try to restrain. We try not to get into that part. But you know, it really goes a little bit further. And I know I use this word a lot, and it's probably because I wasn't. But we need to be intentional in the way we correct our children, because I know 4 kids are playing in the floor. My kid grabs a toy, snatches it away from the other kid, maybe hits the other kid, the kid cries. My response, give that back to him. Don't be like that. You know, don't be hitting people. The correct response, son, come here. Take my kid and I take him off to the side. And I say, we don't do that.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful. That's mean. That's hurtful. You take turns playing. We teach that lesson in private. And then we say to that child, now you go back over there, give that boy his toy back and apologize. But we do that privately. And then they respond publicly.
Yeah, I think and I know I didn't do a good job of it, and particularly, but we're not as concerned. We're more concerned about our kids learning step A, step B, step C, rather than their emotions.
Yeah.
We're willing to damage their emotions to teach them proper manners,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the wrong way. I guilty.
Yeah,
Guilty.
yeah, me too. We talked about it in another session where we were talking about incorrect way of being corrected. Sorry about that. I thought I turned that off. The incorrect way of correcting children. Our father, of course, and
Oh,
not,
yeah,
not
yeah.
great at that. As a grandparent, I do love those moments where, like I said, my grandson, oh, this is the greatest day ever, Papa. Or not too long ago, my daughter-in-law shot us some messages and said the kids want to come see y'all. They say y'all are cooler than us. Well, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it really goes a lot deeper than that. You said it earlier when you saw your grandson for the first time. You're like, I never knew I could love children that much. Not that we didn't love our own children. We loved them. The role was so different. We're at a place in our life now where we understand love better.
Yeah.
We understand how precious life is and what a gift it is to be given a baby.
Yeah.
That and into, like you were talking about, watching their personalities form and to know that we get to be a part of that. So as a grandparent, our perspective on that is always going to be different from the parent. Our perspective is, like you were talking and saying, building character and building that person having strong emotional stability, and we see a different way of doing it than the parent does. Like they're dealing with behavior, we're dealing more. We see more of the bigger picture, and I know our kids are not going to like this.
No.
They're not going to want to hear that.
They say, but I see it all the time. I'm with them all the
Right,
time. And
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
And
I
then,
understand that.
so taking up, so one of the issues that I deal with, you talked about kids, our children living further away and the grandchildren living further away. I struggle with this. I'll see what your perspective is on this. Maintaining a close relationship with our grandchildren when they live at that distance, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge, but we live in a time where technology is so good that they can talk to us. They can even see us on our phone when we talk to them. And I don't, this is not a bash parents, or bash our kids
Right,
situation. But they need to take some of the responsibility in helping maintain that relationship, because it's an important relationship.
Yeah.
They should, I mean, how many times do you say, hey, you talk to your son and something and say, hey, let the kids call me this weekend, or FaceTime me,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't do it.
Mhm.
I know they're busy, their life's busy, but, why, there's just hardly any reason that your grandkids have to go weeks without talking to you.
Absolutely, especially like you said with technology today. I need to brag on my daughter-in-law here. She's very good at that. About a week ago, I sent a message one morning. I videoed myself talking to my grandkids, sent it to them. I said, y'all video me sometime or call me sometime. And within 15 to 20 minutes, I get a video chat with my grandkids.
Oh,
So
that's good.
a shout out
Yeah.
to my daughter-in-law. She's wonderful about that. But
My son's girlfriend, who fiance, whatever, she's good about that too. She'll send me pictures of them.
And that makes, I mean, it really does do something for the relationship between, because I have two other grandchildren. One of them I have not as much contact with, and it's not a strain for me to love him, but it is difficult for him to understand my role in his life because he doesn't quite comprehend all of it because we've not had that interaction.
Yeah.
And so he misses out on the relationship that could be there in the grandparent role. So
Right.
it is important. We are resources to our children. And just a heads up, not just babysitter resources. We are
That's
actual
right.
resources for the mental and physical well-being of their children. We are great resources
Isn't
to
it
support that.
something how they can't call you, they can't remember to let the kids video chat you, but yet when they need a babysitter, they're calling you,
Yeah.
But, I know, like Okay, my daughter, her husband's a, pastor of a church. She's a, director of a daycare and also busy with the church work. They're busy.
Right.
You know how pastors are. They're busy all the time. But there's just no excuse.
Goes back to being intentional.
Intentional. Yes, the kids have other grandparents, and that's great. I love that they have other grandparents. But I called, or I didn't call. She actually did. Being Father's Day weekend, she called me and let the kids or let Bellany talk to me. Liam's a little bit too young, he to focus his attention. But even though I'm not with Bellany as much, and she's I think 5 now. Yeah, even though I'm not with her very often, she loves me as much as any of them.
Right, yeah.
And I miss you, Grandpa.
Yeah.
And she just she's loving and concerned and wants to see me. And sometimes to kids, time hadn't been that long.
That's right. You're right.
But
It was like yesterday to them.
But my daughter, it's her responsibility to help me build that or keep that connection. My youngest son, he's not as busy in the ways that Christina is, but he's young and busy with his life, and he doesn't see a need for the kids to call me as much.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was going to talk about this. You have something?
No, go ahead.
It didn't seem like Mama, as we were growing up, was ever jealous of Granddaddy.
Mm-mm.
He spent time with us. We loved him. How many hours did he spend cranking our mini bikes and taking us fishing?
Yeah.
But she was somewhat jealous of Grandma in my relationship with Grandma, because I just admired Grandma so
Right.
much. And there was a point in time in my adult life that she was a little jealous of Grandma. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, it would have been nice when Mom was raising children if 2 guys would have sat down and recorded something that would have helped her work through those emotions. So there's more.
Shout out to Kevin.
So there is more available today to help us understand those roles and everything. So there's been a lot of studies done and everything, and I think that. But yeah, I think that jealousy is born out of parents want their children to admire them.
Yeah. Oh, and all my grandchildren admire their parents. They love them to death.
Yeah.
Cameron and
Yeah.
Madeline Carson.
But
and
if
Melanie and Lee.
if that admiration ever gets shared, it creates that tension, that jealousy.
Yeah, we should never be seen as a threat to their relationship.
Absolutely.
With their kids.
My boys one time, I overheard them playing back in the day when they had these little action figures like He-Man and Superman and Batman, and my boys were playing, and one of them said, He-Man's stronger than Spider-Man. He could take Spider-Man. And the other one said, well, Superman's stronger than He-Man. And so my littlest one, he spoke up or my oldest one spoke up and said, because he's running out of action figures, he spoke up and said, well, Daddy's stronger than all of them. How do you combat that? Now,
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and it really fed my ego. Fortunately, my littlest one was pretty sharp, and he come back and said, yeah, but Jesus is stronger than Daddy. So, kudos to him. But that admiration that I felt from them in their young years was very important to me. And they didn't have a grandfather, really,
Right.
on either side. There was distance there and what have you. So there was really never a real strong moment. But later on in life, there were other men that my children began to admire, and it did create a little bit of a jealousy. So one just real simple thing, and I didn't get upset or anything, but it challenged my ego a little bit. So I have my grandfather's name, my middle name, and my grandfather's middle name are the same, and I passed that down to my eldest son. So when my son's eldest son is born, he names him he names him Langston after Langston Hughes, and he was going to name his middle name after a comic book hero that he had. And I'm like, wait a minute now, let me get this right. So I'm being beat out by a comic book character. And I'm like, and I may be overly.
No, I'm with you. None of my grandchildren have my name.
Yeah, and so I didn't get my feelings hurt too bad, but I did say, so you got to be kidding me. So instead of giving him the family name, and
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I don't know this for sure, but because it happened behind closed doors, my daughter-in-law is probably the one that pushed to get
Your name.
my name involved. And so there was that little bit of, well, wait a minute now, I won't, where did that admiration go and so forth. So, I think it was probably a challenge for mom, and mom being very insecure during the time of divorce and everything
that's
anyway.
right, too.
So,
Well, now my oldest son, I even did him a favor. I didn't pass down the middle name.
right,
Norman.
the one that nobody mentions.
I passed down the name Kevin. Pretty good name. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Matter of
come on.
fact, when we called him Marshall, and still do, but when to his friends, he has them call him Kevin. So
Right,
he likes
he
the name
likes the
Kevin.
name. Mhm.
Why not pass it on down?
Yeah.
No.
If it's good enough for you, good enough for him, why not good enough for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just the middle name.
Right. But there is that.
He could have had a daughter and named her Kevelina.
He probably done you a favor by not naming your daughter Carolina, but so as a grandparent and grandparent perspective, and the great thing, again, as we talked about, and I know we're going to wrap up here in a minute.
Yeah.
We are resources to our children if they would understand it.
Yeah.
We can offer that. Let me rephrase it. We can reinforce the emotional and physical stability that they're trying to instill in their children. We can reinforce the moral code that they're trying to instill in their children. We are a great resource to
Yeah.
our children as they raise their children. Outside of those two people, mom and dad, nobody will ever love your children the way their grandparents
That's
do.
right. That's right.
And I would challenge in some weird way, in some different way, we love them as much as their parents do.
Yeah.
In a different relationship, but as much. I'd give my life for them.
Yeah.
You
That's
know.
right. Yeah.
So I make decisions literally at our farm when we build or add on or make purchases. I make those purchases with those children in mind.
That's right. I understand that. Yeah.
And
Just
so-
trying to direct your life with them in mind.
Right. A shout out to the grandparents. Let's say this real quick. We're not advocating you not having a life and being so wrapped up in your grandchildren and children's life
Right.
that you lose your identity. We're not saying that at all. We're just saying that.
Just because we have doesn't mean
That's
they
right.
have.
Don't you shouldn't. Don't do as we do. But we are saying that you play a very unique role in their life, and the value of that role is maybe is not realized by your children. Don't try to force it. Just let it come naturally. Be the grandparent. See things from a grandparent perspective. Don't try to parent your grandchildren. Just try to love and support. Offer that extra emotional support. If you do find yourself in the role of parent, if at all possible, try to make that temporary, where you can go back and enjoy the role of being a grandparent. What are your thoughts? Any final?
We probably didn't give as much graded common sense advice this time, but we sure got to talk about our grandkids.
That's right.
Anytime
That's
you can
enough.
talk about your grandkids, it's a good.
That's
good
exactly
time.
right.
So,
In loving memory of Gaddis Elmer Dyson, Sally Lorena Canoy Dyson, we're going to close out this section of Common Sense Cafe. Great to be with you today. We look forward to seeing you again. Hit the like button, share it, do all those
yeah, sure.
technological things that you're
It
supposed
may
to
not
do.
be something that you need to hear, but share it. Somebody else may need to hear it.
That's right. And maybe your children need to hear from a grandparent's perspective. And maybe
Somebody
they can,
share it with my my kids.
Yeah, call my kids and tell them to listen to their dad. They didn't do it whenever they were at home in person, so maybe they'll do it via video. But in closing, I'm Jeff.
Kevin.
Common Sense Cafe.